There we go. Now you can hear me. Hi, I'm Kim with Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me for the Everyday Enchantment Tarot Study Majors discussion. I will be doing time, which is like 12:30, 12:45. So you can feel free to join me during the live in the Facebook group, or you can, oh, my internet connection, of course, or you can catch the replay. You could catch the replay in the Facebook group because it'll be posted in the Facebook group, or on YouTube, and this will be added to the ongoing YouTube playlist. So yeah, definitely chime in, join me if there's a time where one of you or a couple of you want to join me on screen. Let me know, and I'd happily get you a link so that way you can join in. We're not going to be super strict about this. I have some bullet points that I want to go over for each of the cards. And definitely share your thoughts in the chat or in the comment section, your questions that you may that come up, any inspiration you want to share. Okay, so let me make sure. And I didn't do an announcement. I didn't have time, but just know that weekly I will be posting just a reminder that we're doing this. I felt like I posted a lot of reminders this week, and I don't want to inundate you all with too many reminders about all that's happening in the Facebook group. This evening, I'll be able to have a chance to do my own work with the tarot study, as well as to respond to many of the comments I'm already seeing. And thank you all so much for participating. I'm super excited. Okay. So the reason why I decided to do it in the Facebook group, this major discussion versus the get comfortable versus in the on the YouTube channel, is because the work is happening here. It's not really happening on YouTube or any other place. So it just makes sense to have it be here. That could change, we'll see, but this is what felt intuitively right. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a little chat, put something in the chat. Make sure it's literally like acting up. Let's see. I might have to start it over. Oh, there we go. It's working now. It's like, what's going on? Okay. So here we go. What we're going to be discussing first is the Fool card. So that's this card here. So if you have the deck, great. If you don't, that's okay. You don't need to have the deck, and I'm going to show you why as we go through each of these majors, okay? The tarot study is designed to have anyone participate. So don't feel like you have to have the Everyday Enchantment in order to participate. But here is the Fool card. I'm just going to show it to you here. And we're going to talk about the Fool card, okay? I now have it up close and personal, and I'm looking at it here. And what I like to do when I'm exploring a card, I like to first and foremost take a look at the images and see what is the different symbols that are showing up in the card, and compare it to my understanding of what the Fool card represents, right? So that's what we're going to do first. That's what we're going to do first. So we have a gentleman. He looks like he's a construction worker, right? He's a construction worker, and he's literally at the edge. He's at the edge of a platform, it looks like. Paint has spilled out. You see this? We've got a rainbow off in the distance. We've got a construction worker back there. What I also appreciate about Poppy is that she always has animals or creatures depicted. There's a butterfly that's near the gentleman's hand. We've got a cat versus a dog. Like we typically, when we're comparing the two Fool cards to the Rider-Waite-Smith, you see there's a little dog by the Fool. Both are kind of on the edge, right? The Fool card is associated with 0. And what I associate with 0 is unlimited possibilities, untapped potential, a new beginning, a new possibility, right? Innocence, being spontaneous, being at times a bit naive, naive to what could happen if you take one more step, right? So that's what I associate with the Fool card as I'm looking at it here. There's also like a little sprite here. Like, is that a unicorn or a horse? She always has these little, they look like little fairies. Okay. Other associated meanings with the Fool, we have being optimistic, hopeful for the future, not quite sure of what's going to unfold. And there's a beautiful energy in the Fool card in that you're just going to take that leap. You're going to take that leap of faith. You're going to just go for it. Blind faith is another associated meaning that you could have with it. A sense of adventure. When you're like setting and embarking on an adventure, this is that new feeling of the adventure. There are many times in a journey, the adventure has various stages to it, but this is the very beginning of that adventure. Okay. And it's an opportunity, and there's pleasure that you can take in just not knowing how things are going to unfold. He's got this smile on his face, this pleasurable smile on his face where he is, he doesn't seem to have a care. He's kind of like this. He doesn't have a care. And I appreciate this Fool for that. I thought it was interesting. I'm going to look at the guidebook in a moment, but I thought it was interesting that Poppy depicted the Fool as a construction worker. I come from a family that had many construction workers in it, and they talk about, the times where they just dived in, started this new job. They didn't quite know what they were doing, but they dived in anyway. They made mistakes. But in the end, there were rewards that came with taking the leap to explore this type of work. It can be dangerous if you're not careful, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So what I wanted to also do was, after we took a look and took stock of what is in the image, Fool card, or share a picture of this Fool card, and we could, pick it apart, if you will. So I'm going to turn to the page for the Fool. But before we go straight to the Fool, if you have the guidebook, check it out, pull it out, and really dive into it, because there's a lot of good information. So what I noticed was that Poppy had included a cards at a glance section in her guidebook. So we've got all of the major arcana up here. And so what she wrote here for the Fool is begin, impulsive, faith, joy, fresh, open, expand, innocent, dream, free, and travel. Okay. Now, what I found interesting was when I looked at the actual guide, when I actually looked at that, the guide page, the guide section for the Fool, it was different keywords here. Okay, and I like that. I like that she had the cards at a glance, and then she had different keywords for the actual guide page or guide section for the Fool. So we have for the Fool, begin, spontaneity, faith, joy, fresh, open, expand, free. Of that. And then the correspondences is Uranus, ether, and neuter. Okay. And the Fool associated with also the element of air. Now what I'm going to do here now is just read a couple of different excerpts from the guidebook, just so you can get a feel for why she may have chosen this depiction of this Fool card. She says, a cheery man wearing a yellow hard hat and high visibility jacket is poised at the end of a scaffolding plank on a building site. In one hand, he carries a hod full of bricks representing the traditional Fool's bundle, while his other hand is open with a butterfly hovering around his fingers, signifying trust and innocence. Sharing the plank is a cat wearing a jaunty Romany neckerchief, symbolizing freedom and echoing the Fool's capering dog in the Rider-Waite card. The cat has one paw raised, either asking to come along or trying to warn that this man's next step could be his last. He may have knocked over a tin of blue paint, but it's transformed into a flowing river, showing that fantasy is becoming reality. To further this whimsical theme, there's a white revealing his light heart and optimism. To the left, there's a blushing briar rose, echoing the flower in the classic, where is it? The classic Rider-Waite Smith, right? You see his little, he's holding a flower, a little white flower. Oh, sorry for the loud noise. Wind is picking up. Okay. There was something I wanted to share with you all. She says the meaning, to paraphrase the cult TV program The Prisoner, the happy-go-lucky ingenious Fool isn't so much a number as a free man. Being zero, he's pure potentiality rather than a straight figure carved in stone. Everything's embodied in zero's open circle as it holds the negative and the positive without committing to either. The Fool manifests afresh, unbound, and untainted, without any limiting notions or self-consciousness. Encouragement, because he wants us to reconnect with our own spontaneity or spontaneous, I can't speak today, spontaneous essence, and to feel as liberated as he does. There was I should have highlighted it, but the story. So she has the story. Don't be afraid. I'm not, so why should you be? You can see me as hopelessly hapless or as a ridiculous gesture. I don't mind. I'll just smile and nod because you can't hurt my foolish pride or dampen my irresistible spirit. Life's too short, and what time we waste doing what we're supposed to, even if we resent it. I love that. I realize it may seem crazy and completely off the wall or off the plank, depending on how literal you want to be. Perhaps I'm walking the plank like a condemned man on a ship, and I'm destined to on the brink of disaster or poised on the threshold of adventure. Rules would say the former, but what about you? So I'm going to stop there, but I just love how she gives us such juicy information. I've only read excerpts. There's a lot more to dive into. So again, if you don't have this deck or if you're new to tarot, this is a great deck to explore and to learn from because she gives you a lot. She gives you information about the image itself. She provides a story to the card, and then she goes into the meaning. Plus, she gives you little pocket keywords, you know, little pocket section. So it's a great tool. So that is the Fool card. That's the Fool card. Oftentimes, there's going to be many a time that we are on a fool's journey and we're at the fool moment in our life. Can you think of examples or times in your own life where you just was like this fool? You were walking the plank and it could either lead to disaster or it could lead to untold adventure. And I have my own personal stories, but I'm interested to hear your stories of the Fool card moment. Okay, moving on. Moving on. I'll take a sip of my water. So, that was the Fool. Now we're going to move on to the Magician, which I adore in this card. And you see that? The Magician. Move it over here. So I'm taking in the images. Oh, and before we move on to the Magician, again, if you have cards, and actually before, this is my first time doing this way of demonstrating the cards to you guys, so bear with me. Next time we'll have more of a rhythm. But I did want to give you a couple of different examples of the Fool card from some throw decks that I had on my reading table. So of course, you know, I have the lights here because it's one of my main working decks. So this one, she's leaning backwards and kind of doing one of those fall backs. If you've ever did any of those, where I worked in a corporate environment for a long time, so they always had these team building exercises we would do, and one of them is where you have to have faith and fall back and trust your teammates to catch you. So that's what I think of with this Fool card and there's so much possibility here with this little, I don't know, grid here, but she's trusting that all is going to be well. And then we have from the Super Lunaris, it's pretty traditional, right? If you compare it to the Rider-Waite-Smith, he's literally got his foot off the ledge. He's about to go. He's going to go, and he's got his little scrappy little dog beside him. That's like, hey, are we really doing this? Are we really about to jump? Yes. We're really about to take that step. And it's not even so much a jump. It's more I'm taking a conscious step towards this new adventure. We see that when we are exploring. We're going to move to another part of a city or a country. We're going to take on a new job. We are going to maybe go live abroad. We are going to change careers, not just move from one job to another, but change careers entirely. We're going to follow our passions, and we're not quite sure where they're going to lead us or take us. Okay, now we're moving on to here's the Magician. So I showed this to you all earlier, but let's take this in. I'm going to look at some of the things that pop out to me. There's some graffiti on the back wall on this building, on the brick, and it says yes. I'm gonna try to get as close as I can. Okay. It says yes. That's my eye draws to there. There's another animal here, a beautiful little bird. I don't know if it's like a sparrow or something. Oh, there's a cute little bird there as well. And then he's got a blade on his hip. He's digging up or unearthing something. There's a snake there, lots of animal energy. We've got these beautiful sunflowers. He's smiling. There's a little child back there who's a part of this whole gardening experience. Interestingly enough, are these poppies? I don't know. They look like they might be poppies. Poppies is our state flower in California, so my eyes are always drawn to that color. Could be like marigolds, I don't know. Well, look what the guidebook says. This little child here, there's a shopping cart back there, and it looks like there's some sort of dump or trash in the background. So what this is telling me is like he's creating a community garden in the midst of all of this trash. He's changing things. He's manifesting something here. Okay. So, I'm going to show you the Magician from the Rider-Waite-Smith. Or the Smith-Waite, as it may be. As above, so below. We see with the traditional magician, the figure 8 above the magician's head. I'm just going to look and see if I see any other symbols here that stand out. All the tools that the magician can use is here, including themselves, right? They stand prominently behind this table. The table has a pentacle, a cup, a sword, and a wand. Okay. Beautiful flower bushes all around. This wonderful, powerful shade of yellow background. So that, see that with the sunflowers here, okay? With the magician, some, keywords that I think of, and I'm going to talk to you all about this in a moment. I have a numerology cheat sheet. So the magician's tied to the number 1. Number 1s are about new beginnings, opportunity, and actual potential. It could be the beginnings of projects and creativity or creative endeavors. It's taking action, bringing what was up here down to earth, right? Here's my other little fun. Well, the magician. So it's the skill, it's the creativity, it's the power, manifestation. When I see the magician, I think of manifestation. Let me see what I have here. And for my cheat sheet, 1s are aces. It's beginnings, potential momentum, inspiration. Something new with vast potential is indicated when you have, the magician or many aces in your readings. They are pure energy without form, but with the magician, you are now in a position to bring it down to earth and to shape it as you would like to shape it. And this is a powerful time of moving from idea to bringing forth something into the physical realm. All right, so let's go back to our cards at a glance. The magician. power, transform, concentrate, action, aware, potential, discipline, direct. And so I love this. So she has also like a key phrase below each of the cards, and it says, being the change. It says here, action, power. I added two, but commit, concentrate, awareness, vitality, and potential. Correspondences are Mercury, air, and masculine. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to read some information about this magician. The image from the guidebook. A vigorous male digs in an urban community garden. He smiles confidently, revealing his pride in the project and in himself. On his head is a pointed red cap denoting both his originality and his magical power, whereas the magician in the Rider-Waite card is robed in red and white with the tools of his art, chalice, pentacle, knife, and wand, on the table before him. This one wears a red and white t-shirt with jeans. I like that. His gardening implements are the practical knife at his belt, a wooden water pail, cups, oh yeah, there's the cups, and a spade, wand. This magician's earthy pentacles or coins are the golden sunflowers he has grown from seed, symbolizing dynamic masculine energy. His little son points at these flourishing flowers with pleasure because he was part of their creation. The traditional magician has an infinity I can't pronounce it. Lemniscate. Lemniscate. You guys can tell me how to pronounce that. Sign above head, while here is a slow worm curled in a figure 8. Oh, representing the eternal Ouroboros. Okay, I see the snake. Okay, I did not know that. See, I learned something. That's the figure 8 embodied in that snake right there. I wanted to read to see if she talks about the concrete jungle that they're in. It says, beyond the fertile worked earth, there's a man-made area with abandoned shopping trolleys and rubbish. The concrete has been enlivened with colorful graffiti that reads, quote unquote, yes, signifying the motivating force of this card. An unseen green being adds their, showing this to be a collaboration between people and the spirits of place. And I love that. I thought, in my intuition with this card, was that it speaks to, I'm transforming something. If you've lived in an urban environment and been a part of a community garden, it's beautiful to see that transformation. It starts with an idea, then it starts with the planning phases of planting or getting the seeds, finding out what will grow in that area, collaboration, getting the soil right, finding the right spot. All that manifestation is happening. And I love that she decided to use this as the depiction for the magician. Okay. Take a sip of my water. Let's see. As a part of this study to dive into it, especially for the majors. I mean, I invite you to read the entire guidebook, but especially the majors. The meaning. The transformative magician is inspiring in a different way to the fool. He shares the qualities of self-belief, bravery, and boldness, but uses them to achieve specific constructive ends rather than trusting to fate. Whereas the fool's was a leap of faith, the magician strides in the right direction, knowing where he wants to go and never doubting he'll get there. Being number one in this deck, he stands tall and strong, resolute, as a tall and strong, resolute individual who brings a specific something out of the nothing, or fertile void of the fool's zero. From all possibility comes a singular manifestation. This isn't sleight of hand conjuring. This magician is intensely influential in that he influences intensely without gimmickry or illusion. His power comes from focusing the creative force of the source and acting as a conduit to earth. To earth, yeah. So I'm going to read that again. His power comes from focusing the creative force of the source and acting as a conduit to earth it responsibly. The magician either represents a purposeful, positive male teacher or indicates that we're ready to be an effective channel ourselves. Of course, it isn't feasible to control or manifest everything just by focusing, and we'll have to be realistic as well as optimistic. Reality is a complex energetic web, a living internet, and no matter how we direct our will, some links will always be blocked or broken. It's true. But if we've a deep awareness of the bigger picture, gained through interaction with our unseen companions, and are prepared to put in the work, then we have the best chance of achieving what's right for us and the wider world. I like that. I like that. Let's see. She says, what an achievement. It's amazing what we can do when we put our mind to it. I never doubted I could transform this barren, unloved space into something alive and blooming. All gardeners are magicians to some degree. It just depends how much focused intent we invest. If we have a vision of how marvelous the world could be and we're prepared to determinedly bring it about, then anything's possible, even probable. Just as there's a prospective oak inside every acorn, beauty's potentially hidden in every square of asphalt. All we need to do is dig deep until we reveal it. Wow. And she goes on further, but we'll stop there. We'll stop there. Hi, Rayanne. How are you doing? Thank you. I didn't even know if you all could see me. I'm like speaking into the void, but I trusted that it's recording and that you could see me. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me. We're just talking about the magician, or wrapping up this part. I talked about the Fool card. Now we're talking about the magician. I'm going to show you a couple of different examples of the magician from a couple of different decks that I have that were just on my table. So of course we have the traditional Wade Smith. And we've got the Light Seers. That's above, so below. This is the everyday enchantment on a consistent basis. Is, at least so far in the majors, it's the Light Seers is very much more centric on the person, whereas the main character is really interacting with their surroundings. We're seeing more of the person in action. Another reason why I really appreciate this deck is if it's going to be a deck or a depiction, a modern depiction, why not be in different showing of how people interact as the magician, right? And the same with the Fool. Like, this person is active. They're doing something. It's not just them in the picture. They're doing something. Not saying the Light Seers doesn't do that, but I find that you see more dynamic energy in the everyday enchantment. Yay, I'm happy you are doing well. I don't know why it's not up there. Now I can, it's like, why aren't they, it's like very finicky on my end, this There we go. I'm liking your comments, so I know that I was there. Thank you for joining me today. Yeah, I decided to keep it low key. It's easier for me to do it this way, live stream, versus doing a full on editing situation. So, and plus, I get to interact with you all on an intimate level in the Facebook group first before I save it for replay later. So, yay. All right, so now we are moving. Oh, before I move on, here's another magician. This is from the Super Lunaris Tarot. And then we can compare it to, first we'll compare it. I'm a sucker for like modern depictions. And I like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck too. That's my homeschool like study system of learning tarot. But I also like a more modern take on things. And then we compare it. You see, and she's doing something. She's doing some sort of ritual work here, and she's got her tools here about her. There's some wands here. There's a cup or a chalice. There's the fire, like a little candle here. I'm trying to see the air. Oh, I see a sword. It's just kind of obscured by the keyword. But she's doing something as well. It's just again very centered on her, the one person in this. Whereas this guy here, he is all up in the mix. And I love it. Yes. Yes, yes. Okay. Now, moving on to the High Priestess. Now this is wow, a very haunting High Priestess. She is quite mysterious from the Everyday Enchantment. I'm gonna scoot in. Okay. Where is she? There's the shadow and light just in the image art, you know, the art, right? In the Everyday Enchantment. Whereas we've got the pillars over here in the Smith Waite. So what I do when I'm just taking a look at these cards is I'm taking in the different symbols and imagery and picking up on what's in it. There's a couple of cats. There's a black cat and then a little light colored cat. A little gray, with cute little white paws. And she's just kind of sitting back. She's wearing a necklace with the crescent moon. There's the crescent moon in the Rider-Waite, or the Smith Waite. This is the Smith Waite deck. Crescent moon right there. She's got a book opened here at her foot. I like her outfit too. She's got, I like the shades of purples too. Purples and greens. And then there's a fox, which I found interesting. A fox depicted there. Her bag. I wonder what's in her bag, her knapsack. There's a candle behind her. Trash. It's an interesting depiction. I'm curious to see what she has to say. Some of the things that I know of for keywords for the High Priestess is intuition, right? The sacred knowledge, mysteries, the subconscious, the divine feminine, trusting yourself, that inner trust, trusting your intuition, a sensitive And she's someone who has high morals. This is a card that is the water. I believe it's the water element that backs the High Priestess. And the moon is its element. And this is about the balance of opposites. And here's my cheat sheet, my numerology cheat sheet. I'm no expert at numerology, but it does help to have a sense of understanding about numerology, astrology when you're working with the tarot. So twos, which is associated with the High Priestess. Oh, I'm going to show you on this is a 2 card. It's about balance, partnership, and duality, right? Let me see what I had to say. It's choices. I'm very much curious to see what Poppy had to say about this image. Okay, I'm very curious. Because I see some of the things. She also has a mirror here. I just noticed this and didn't mention before. We've got the sacred knowledge in the books, right? And then we've got this mirror, this reflection. A need for reflection, maybe? This person is very introspective, perhaps? Maybe in reverse, not so much. Let's see. Let's go back to our our cards at a glance. The High Priestess, intuition, insight, dream, your dreams, your vision, internal, and that's what I meant by introspection, mystery, contemplate, and spirit. I cannot. The key phrase up here is dream on. Okay. So now I'm going to read about the image, the card's image. I like this card so much. A moon pale gothic young woman with crazy hair sits on stone steps before a pillar, referencing the Rider-Waite image. The green refuse bin represents the second pillar, effectively creating a gateway between realms. Interesting. An urban fox, an outcast creature of the night, scavenges in this back street. It lives close to humanity, yet retains its otherworldliness, as does this woman. In myth, foxes are shapeshifters, adept at creating illusion, as is she. Both the fox and the woman stare out with piercing eyes while seeming to see beyond their surroundings. A flight of tattooed birds migrates up the woman's arm, suggesting her spirit's ability to soar away. A stray tabby cat pounces forward while a shadowy feline stalks around her boots. Is it real or her uncanny familiar? She has placed a candle on the steps, and her books contain mysterious markings, suggesting she's engaged in a magical ritual. Over her shoulder, a leaping unseen companion casts their own glamour, making the drab, grubby area gleam with numinous potential. In the traditional image, the priestess wears the moon as a headdress, traditional headdress, and has a crescent at her feet, while this woman has the full moon pulled before her. Interesting. So that's the full moon light upon her. As well as hanging unseen above her, she wears a waning moon pendant, signifying her hidden depths, and holds up a silvered mirror for profound reflection. Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Before we move on into me reading some excerpts from the guidebook, let's just take a look at some of my other High Priestesses. We've got the lights here. She's got her eyes closed. It's very much centered on her, right? She's got the crescent above her head. She's got a little pomegranate. I don't know, is that a necklace? Some sort of, I don't know if it's on her shirt or necklace. Little earrings also has a little crescents in them. And these little mysterious symbols here. Wow. And then we have this High Priestess from the Superlunaris. The dark and light pillars. And a wise, mysterious woman in between with the crescent moon at the top. The mysterious cloak that she's wearing. Like, it looks like you could just fall into the galaxies of her cloak. Let me take another sip. Let's just see if there's anything that stands out to me to read. I apologize for the yelling. I cannot close the window. It is super hot here today. So I have to have the window open. My apologies. Let's see. The meaning. Let's just go to the meaning. In the traditional image, the High Priestess sits between a black and white pillar, which can represent her darkness to the magician's light. And darkness doesn't mean the High Priestess is sinister. She isn't bad, just as the magician isn't wholly good. And some depictions of the magician, he's a trickster, right? But that's not the only meaning for the magician. Let's see. Just as a battery needs both positive and negative terminals to work, with neither being right or wrong, these two complement and assist each other, right? Shadow and light. They need one in order to have the other. Let's see. She's the moon to his sun and the passive to his active, both equally necessary, as dynamic day has no meaning without its soothing opposite. She's the dark, fertile loam from which he brings forth his marvels, and she facilitates the night's sleep to restore his energy. His role is to provide the bright power that makes growing and action possible. He'd want to transform her urban place into a thriving plot, while she finds subtle soul poetry in the abandoned reviled space. He wants to change and do, and she's referring to the magician, right? To the High Priestess. He wants to change and do, while she wants to feel and intuit. Both are valid contributions, as nothing can be achieved manifestly unless it has been dreamed into being first. Her envisioning is essential, but needs hands-on application to make it real. His job is manual, and her labor is hidden behind the scenes. Together, they facilitate true transformation. The High Priestess tells us that now's not the time to act, but to contemplate. She recommends we withdraw from hectic society to find our muse in untamed, mysterious places where the wild things are, or find inspiration through meditation. And when you think about the Two of Swords, for example, I think of the High Priestess as well, that need to meditate and contemplate. All right, those twos. I like that. The main thing is not to be afraid of the silence or the dark, that velvety black of inner and outer space. Can we be at ease with our whole self, shadows and all? This lady can appear as a spiritual guide, a traditional psychic, or a priestess in purple velvet, but she can also be the woman next door offering herbal tea and wise counsel. She won't be conventional or practical, but she will be adept, no matter how left or center her field is. Yet this independent lady doesn't want us to rely solely on her, suggesting we give credence to our own intuition now. Wow. And of course, like I always say, I always direct you all back to this gorgeous guidebook where you can read up more about the image, more about the story. She writes a story for each of the cards. I just adore it. I'm falling more and more in love with this deck study that we're doing. I'm falling more and more in love. Wow. All right. So moving along. The last card we're going to discuss, and then we'll wrap it up for today, is the Empress. Okay. I'm going to talk about the Empress. Oh, she's a loud one, this one. She keeps going back and forth. Sweet girl. Okay. She's not even paying me no mind. I'm paying her all the mind. Okay, the Empress. The Empress. Let me get close. This Empress, she is definitely that creatrix, right? Her family is all about her. She's not the pregnant Empress that we know from the Smith Waite or Rider-Waite Smith, right? Or from the Light Seers, or from the Super Lunaris. She's not. I don't think she's pregnant. Her baby is in the high chair, and she's got a little toddler here, and her husband's back there. There's flowers. I really like this. Just really like this. Sorry. I'll be gushing from time to time. There's a gorgeous little dog here, actually a big dog, and there's a heart over her head. Okay, she's a nurturer. She's got an abundant life going on here. She's fertile. She represents fertility. She's feminine. She's the divine feminine. She represents good parenting, good loving and nurturing parenting, and development, creativity, accomplishment. So if you don't want to associate childbirth with the Empress, you do not have to by any stretch. She is that creative energy, that collaborative energy, that collective coming together for the purpose of creation energy, okay? She is about growth and evolution and action in her own loving, nurturing way. She receives love, but she also fosters an environment for love. The threes, according to my numerology cheat sheet, is creativity, partnership, growth, or groups and growth. Okay. So, and she's associated, where is she? She is associated with the number 3. We have that here on the Empress here. I like how the Light Seers actually numbers it versus using Roman numerals. She writes number 3 and puts Empress, but here it's number 3. The Empress is associated with Earth and the planet Venus. Let's see. So she's generally optimistic. If she's reversed, though, let's say this gal is reversed. This could be representing a creative block, being selfish versus being a giver. She could be impatient versus the impatient in the upright. She's totally dependent on others in an unhealthy way, right? She's inactive, lacks concentration, lacks, like, there's not a fostering of a community here. There's like a pushing away of community. And, you know, if you do love readings, she could represent infidelity. Okay. But I'm just looking at her different themes. Roses in the back, and I talked about the heart. Got talked about the toddler. There's a bowl of fruit back there. There's a little fairy or sprite up there, floaty. And the dog is eagerly, you know, wanting her love, basking in her love as well. The cupboards look full. Also, there's dishes in there as well. So she, you know, well-stocked cupboards. Abundance. I love her beautiful green dress with, you know, if you look here in the Smith weight, you see similar pattern. Earth. Okay. Now, my favorite part is going to the guidebook. Go into the guidebook. Major Arcana. Cards at a glance. Fix my shirt, my bra strap. Let's see. The Empress. Abundance. Grow. Harmony. Stability. Stability. Threes are stability, right? Health. Fertility. Nurture. Home and care. Now we're going to go. Keywords: nurture, nature, grow, mother. So you know, with the Emperor, one of the key words is the father, and for the Empress, one of the key words is mother. Passion, harmony, stability, fertility, care, and create. Correspondences is Venus, Demeter, Earth, and Libra. Okay. And the Empress key phrase: lots of love. Lots of love. And we feel that. We feel that in this card. Like I'm in her kitchen too, and she's got her arms outstretched to all of us. Not just her little kid and her dog. Yes. Let's see. I'm trying to fix my shirt. There we go. A full-figured blonde woman welcomes an embrace with arms outstretched. Like the Rider-Waite Empress, her garment has a fruit print indicating luscious ripeness with the green background signifying fecundity. Fecundity? I'll have to Google that. In her softly curling hair, there are white flower clips to represent nature's goodness. Unlike the classic seated Empress, this woman stands in an attractive kitchen, decorated in soft shades that reflect her gentle femininity. Around her are her family, the chuckling baby in the high chair, the happy husband, the young daughter reaching for her mummy, and the faithful dog who above her flies a tiny fairy offering blessings. Around the kitchen are signs of abundance. A homemade cake sits on a stand next to a pink teapot with a heart design. Fruits fill a bowl. I noticed the fruits in the bowl. Red roses overspill a vase. Directly above the woman's head, a heart picture hangs on the wall, seeming as if she's manifested it out of her own love. Oh, you know what? So that's a little picture. I thought it was just like, oh, here's a heart. It's a picture that she hung on her wall, that heart. Okay. There's the cake, partially eaten in the pink teapot, all the way over here in the corner. Let's see if I want to read anything. One of the things she says here. I like how she used the word bliss. She says, I enjoy my food too much. Oh, we're so fortunate to have a gorgeous garden. It's a little bit of heaven on earth and such a joy to share the story. I'm not going to read the full story. You can definitely check it out. She says, I want my children to grow up in a delightful, loving home. And I feel sorry for those who aren't brought up with genuine affection. I'd adopt every child in need if I could. And look, here's my daughter. Come here, sweetheart. Would you like a hug? No? Let's not leave the dog out. She needs cuddles too. I know. Let's all go outside and sit on in the grass. We can watch the bumblebees and the foxgloves and the butterflies on the bootleg bush. So I'm going to read and then tie up this little session we've got going on here. The meaning. Excerpts. Whereas the first 3 cards in the deck dealt with possibilities, positive power, and psychic energy, the Empress unifies mind, body, and spirit and personifies creation itself. Wow. Whereas the High Priestess is the essence of the waning to dark to be the change. She wants us to be the love every day and to give unconditionally. This is Mother Nature in human form, lavishly creating a nurturing environment for her offspring and life partner. But she also extends her care to all her relations, be they human or not, because her embrace isn't confined to her immediate relatives and locality. It's universal. She wants everyone to be contented and cared for and finds it painful that she can't help everybody, although she tries. But she doesn't brood. She's too eager, animated, and involved in the physical realm with all its delights. She'd eat life up with a big spoon and relish every mouthful, while making sure she shared it, of course. Are we also enjoying life's bounty to the fullest? From making love to making jam, this lady is immersed in the experience and deeply connected to the earth's sensual rhythms. She suggests that we're in a fertile phase. Wow. Well, let me back up. She suggests that we're in a fertile phase, which can mean pregnancy or any passionate act. Is she too good to be true? No, because her mothering may become smothering, and under the guise of care and support, she can micromanage her nearest and dearest to a stifling degree. And that's where I think Poppy is speaking more to the reverse kind of energy of the Empress. Along with providing clean clothes, lunches, and lifts or car rides, there can be a desire to protectively or possessively control every moment, keeping everyone within her grasp. Hours. Are we offering the security of a warm embrace or creating a cage? Is our love absolute, or are there conditions to be met before it's earned? The Empress suggests we can change lives with our open-armed altruism or cause damage by being a martyr or manipulator. We may need to remind ourselves that being in our care isn't truly ours, and those in our charge must always be given space to grow, or free agency is like I like to say. A tender shoot will seek the light away from us if we stand in the way. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that powerful? This is what's offered in the guidebook. It's just amazing what Poppy has created here. So that's the Empress. That is the Empress. And that concludes today's, or this week's. So next week we'll be going on into the Emperor and seeing how many cards we can fit in an hour's time. We're a little bit over. It's an hour and 5 minutes. I'm going to try and keep it to an hour or less, doing about 3 to 4 cards per time. If you have any suggestions or questions for an upcoming card that we're going to discuss, or upcoming major tarot card, let me know and I'll be sure to address it during the next live stream. All right, you all. Well, that's it, and that's all for now. Thank you for joining me. Have an excellent time during the tarot study. I can't wait to read your posts and see what you all have been up to. I've got some busy practical work of doing, like pinning certain things to the top, or posts to the top of the Facebook group, and also commenting and sharing with you all what I'm up to personally with my studies as well, because I'm not just a facilitator of this, but I'm also a student and participant, learning from you as you are learning from me. We're learning together, and this is why I strongly encourage those who are new or seasoned to jump in and dive into this